will be moving as they fix potholes. You have delays currently on 95 South, exit 21 in Fairfield, 95 South in New Haven at exit 46, 95 South in West Haven, exit 42. Road work on 95 South at exit 17 in Westport. Road work in Fairfield on 95 North at exit 24. That's the Black Rock Circle. A lot of the earlier stuff has cleared, including a rather spectacular car fire in Bridgeport earlier that closed a couple of lanes on I-95. Your coffee break time is... Your coffee break time is 11:02.
Thanks, John. Well, Bridgeport detectives secured 2 arrest warrants this morning for the April 11th murder of a 57-year-old man fatally shot in the grocery store that he owns. One suspect is in custody and has admitted his role in the fatal shooting. Detectives are now seeking the second suspect.
And we are pleased to
and
announce
all the individuals out there that have stopped by the store or called us and shown their love for my mom.
22 years old.
He was an amazing man, and I know he's in a better place, and I trust completely that our police department will bring this remaining suspect to justice, and that justice will be served overall. Thank you.
The community came together to find these suspects in a very rapid fashion because they took somebody that we cared about away, and we were angry, and we're gonna make it right as best we can.
And we are pleased to announce that we have this individual. This man is Leighton Vanderberg. He's 22 years old. He's from the city of New Haven. He is currently in custody. I am, however, asking for the public's support and for information from the public. This is who we're looking for now. This man is named Trezzy Lopez. He's 18 years old. We know he's originally from New Haven. We have an arrest warrant for him for the crime of felony murder with a $1 million bond.
Detectives and acknowledged a role in the robbery attempt and killing. Bridgeport detectives secured a warrant charging him with felony murder, and while he's being held on unrelated charges in New Haven, and as you heard, they are now trying to secure a warrant. They have secured a warrant for the felony murder for the second man, Trezzy Lopez, who's 18, also of New Haven. He is believed to be in the New Haven area, and as you heard, Assistant Police Chief James Nardozzi asked anyone in the community with information about his whereabouts to contact police. Salgado's family was informed Tuesday of the arrest. Joe Salgado described his father as an amazing man who is now in a better place. He expressed appreciation for the many people who stopped by the grocery store or called to show their love for his father. Salgado was fatally shot Saturday afternoon at his grocery store on Lexington Avenue, where he was working with his wife when the 2 robbers entered. Mayor Finch described Salgado and his family as a pillar of the community in the neighborhood. Detectives worked closely with the FBI, New Haven Police, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and both Ford Motor Company and Park City Ford during the investigation. Bridgeport Police Lieutenant Chris LeMaine said assistance from the dealership and from the corporate office of Ford was key in tracking down the suspect's vehicle, a Ford Focus, which was seen fleeing the scene after the shooting. Coffee break time is 11:05.
Kate, silver alert has been issued for 14-year-old Michael Jackson of Derby. He's described as a black male with black hair and brown eyes. He stands about 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighs about 130 pounds. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, a gray sweatshirt, and blue sneakers. Michael has been missing since Wednesday. Anyone with information about his whereabouts should call Derby Police 203-735-7811.
Thanks, John. Well, 2 juveniles who fashioned a rifle from Legos prompted calls to police Tuesday night that caused them to shut down a section of North Benson Road. John, that's in Fairfield, correct?
That is in Fairfield, but right by Fairfield University.
The incident unfolded when a group of skateboarders called police around 7:45 at night Tuesday to report that someone pointed a rifle at them from the window of a Dill Road home. Police Lieutenant James Perez said the call prompted a heavy deployment of officers who shut down a stretch of North Benson Road from Dill Road to Fairfield University campus entrance and diverted traffic. Officers on the scene said after they phoned the Dill Road house where the weapon was seen, The window shades were drawn and the lights were shut off. The officers then used a bullhorn in an attempt to contact the people inside, fearing that it may have been the start of a standoff, Perez said. The front door opened and then closed again. Then 2 juveniles, 11 and 12 years old, accompanied by a 23-year-old brother and their grandmother, came out of the house and showed police the device that was actually built out of Legos. There appeared to have been a language issue that had hindered their immediate response to the police request to exit the home. No formal charges will be filed, police indicated, but the juveniles who made the gun were warned about the consequences of causing a disturbance by aiming it at people. So, yeah.
The aiming it at people's the bad thing, and it's that kind of time. It's scary,
right?
To the point that I didn't know what was going to happen. Sunday, I was filming a fishing derby in Bridgeport, footage that you'll see some of on Yankee Fisherman at 1 o'clock on hanradio.com, streaming live on the Hersam Acorn network. And it has a microphone. I bought a microphone that kind of screws onto the top of it in the flash shoe. And a little kid, that man has a gun.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, now what?
It's not something you want to hear.
I was a little concerned for a minute. In other news, when William Sapone failed to return home from a boating trip Tuesday, his wife went looking for him. Sapone had fallen into the waters off Fairfield rowing last year, was rescued by a Pequot Yacht Club employee. His wife, Mary, couldn't find him. She knew he rowed a lot. She went out looking for him, called the police when she found his car. There was a water search, there was an air search, and he was found dead on Cookini Island off of Fairfield and Westport. The medical examiner has ruled the cause of death for William Sapone to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was found a short distance from his rowing scull, dead of a single gunshot wound, face down. So, heartbreaking story there. He was an attorney. He was involved in the Penfield Pavilion reconstruction, among other things, and I've seen among those reacting strongly to his death, First Selectman Michael Tetro of Fairfield.
Oh, very sad story. Well, John, we're about due for another look at the roads before we take a break.
Yes, we are. And again, as I continue to say, just be prepared for delays anywhere because they're moving up and down with road work. So we have delays in Fairfield, 95 north at exit 24. That's most likely road work. Road work in West Haven was cleared at exit 42, means they'll set up someplace else. Some road work clearing, just all up and down. Every so many exits, you're finding a delay and road work as they patch potholes. And you know what? It's a great day for it. It's 58 right now. It's sunny outside our Shelton studio. It's going to stay sunny all day long, getting up into the low 50s. Beautiful day. Down into the 40s, clouding up tonight. Friday, rain, 65 degrees. Decent weekend shaping up. We'll give you more on that in our next weather break.
All right, great, John. Well, when we come back, a look at this day in history as well as an update on local sports when we return with Coffee Break on hanradio.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands at the award season event, now through April 30th.
Your child has fallen and broken his arm. You need to see an orthopedist fast. Think Coastal Ortho Express in Norwalk. Don't wait hours in the ER. Save a trip and money by going straight to an orthopedic specialist at Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care in Norwalk. No appointment necessary. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, 203-845-2070. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk or call 203-845-2070. Fast.
Spring is finally in the air, and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. And online at stratfordsmile.com.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
It's 11:14 on your coffee break, presented by Stratford Orthodontics. Kate Chaplinsky with John Kovach. John, you've been filling in for Don Ang all week with these history updates. You've been doing a good job.
Thank you.
Who needs Don? I'm kidding.
We do.
We miss you, Don.
I need something off my plate.
I know. So tell us what happened on this day in history.
Well, on this date in 1818, the U.S. Senate ratified the Rush-Bagot Amendment. Do you know what that did?
I do not.
That formed an unarmed border between the United States and Canada, which I'm not sure if it still is, but at one point the only unarmed border in the world. 1900, the first book of postage stamps was issued. 2-cent stamps were sold in books of 12, 24, and 48. 1905, Andrew Carnegie donated $10 million from his personal fortune to set up the Carnegie Foundation for the advancement of teaching. In 1917, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin returned to Russia. That would start the Bolshevik Revolution after his years of exile. 1922, Annie Oakley set a women's record. She hit 100 clay targets in a row on this date in 1922. Fibber McGee and Molly, legendary radio comedy, debuted on this date in 1935. Baseball history in 1940, when Bob Feller throws a no-hit, no-run game for the Cleveland Indians, who beat the Chicago White Sox 1-0. I had to include this one just for the discussion. In 1943, in Basel, Switzerland, chemist Albert Hofmann accidentally discovers the hallucinogenic effects of LSD-25 while working on the medicinal value of lysergic acid.
Wow. That is an interesting one. You must have been a little scared at first. Like, is this ever going to end?
Oh, my Lord. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
No, I can't.
Nor can I imagine us doing our job without a zoom lens. And in 1947, the Zoomar lens, invented by Dr. Frank Back, was demonstrated in New York City. That the first lens to exhibit zooming effects. On this date in 1962, television history. Walter Cronkite began to anchor the CBS Evening News, a position he would hold for decades, becoming the most trusted man in America.
Wow.
In 1968, the Pentagon announced that troops would begin coming home from Vietnam. That, of course, didn't materialize till years later. Major League Baseball's longest night game was played on this date in 1968. The Houston Astros defeat the New York Mets 1-0, a 24-hour marathon that took 6 hours and 6 minutes. Apollo 16 blasted off on this date in 1972. That same date, 2 giant pandas arrive in the U.S. from China as a gift. On this date in 1985, Mickey Mantle was reinstated after being banned from baseball for several years. In 1987, and this was a time, it was a very pivotal time because stuff that you see routinely in primetime now would never make it on television. And in 1987, because it was starting to open up a little, that crack was forming, the Federal Communications Commission sternly warned U.S. radio stations to watch the use of indecent language on the airwaves. That is, and I'll bring Rob Adams in on this, that's kind of the golden era of your shock jock really pushing the limit, where it was almost, Rob, a badge of honor for some of these guys to get fined by the FCC.
Yeah, it had grown out of really the the 50s and 60s with the early broadcasters, and eventually grew to guys like Don Imus and then Howard Stern. But there were other guys lesser known, and there were other names who began doing that and walking that fine line. So yeah, they did something about it. And I would most definitely say Howard Stern was right at the very front of that.
I would have to agree. I want to talk about walking a fine line. On that same date in that same year, the U.S. Patent Office began to allow patenting of new animals created by genetic engineering.
There you go.
Fun fact.
And in 1999, Wayne Gretzky, the great one, announces his retirement from the National Hockey League. And a dark day that we just have to acknowledge, and that in 2007, a student killed 33 people at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia, before killing himself. So kind of a somber end to an interesting day in history in which there were a lot of breakthroughs.
Busy day, yeah.
Rob Adams joining us with sports. Rob fired up for Cooperstown.
Let's see. Let me get my history thoughts in. The Feller no-hitter was against the White Sox. It was the only opening day no-hitter in history. Mantle was suspended along with Willie Mays as well, because they were involved with gambling casinos as just really representatives. They weren't doing any gambling. They were just basically doing a job.
They were greeters, as I recall. They just kind of glad-handed with big spenders.
They were. But Bowie Kuhn was, I could spend an hour on Bowie Kuhn. He was not my favorite commissioner, and Peter Uberoth came along and rescinded those rather silly suspensions. So, but yeah, let's dive into sports. We have plenty of games to get to from yesterday, plenty of scores to give you. We'll start by talking about what John kind of led me in with, and that is the 2015 FCA Cooperstown Classic on HAN Radio and the Hersam Acorn Network, presented by Tucci Lumber, as McMahon plays Norwalk Sunday at 5 in Cooperstown, New York. And the Cooperstown Challenge, excited for it. We'll all be up there. Looking forward to a good time. Baseball scores from yesterday: Ludlow over Greenwich 4-3. Darien throttles St. Joe's 17-2. It was West Hill over Trumbull 6-0. Stamford beats Staples 2-1. Norwalk 9, Trinity Catholic 0. New Canaan 7, Central 0. McMahon takes care of Danbury 6-4, and Ridgefield all over Harding 29-0. To softball, the John Jay softball team scored its third win in a row on Wednesday, 7-4 at Yorktown. The Indians improved to 3-1 as they broke open a 1-1 tie with 4 in the second. The Huskers of Yorktown got back to within 5-3 in the fifth, but John Jay added insurance runs in the sixth and seventh. Our thanks to J.B. Cousins for relaying that. Ludlow over Greenwich 4-0. Stamford beat Staples 9-2. New Canaan by a touchdown over Central 13-6. Norwalk 9, Trinity Catholic 8. It was Wardall over Bassick 17-0. St. Joe's nipped Darien 5-4. Trumbull 3, West Hill 2, and Danbury over McMahon 11-0. Du Bois Lacrosse taking its 2-season streak in its stride with a 20-0 win over Trinity to now go 27-0 over the weekend will mean the Blue Wave have taken a leap on the early season. The annual Battle of the Sound versus Manhasset is next at 3 p.m. Saturday at Garden City High School on Long Island. This is the Darien Blue Wave we're talking about. The home win on Tuesday made the Wave 3-0 overall and 2-0 in the FCAC, so the Blue Wave doing their thing once again. As for John Jay, the boys lacrosse team needed only 14 seconds to take the lead and never look back, taking down Brewster of New York 13-3 on Wednesday in Brewster. It was the Indians' second straight win after opening the season at 0-5. On the game's opening faceoff, Jack Marshke came up with the ball, passed to Danny Skluth, found Vince Foti for a 10-yard shot that found the mark. Ryan Lee made it 2-0 about a minute later. The lead was 4-0 after one. John Jay improved to 6-0 after Brewster's Joe Guida scored late in the half to make it 6-1. Elsewhere, girls lacrosse, Ludlow over Stanford 17-8, Trumbull 17, St. Joe's 13, and Manhasset of New York beat Darien 14-11. Du Bois tennis, just one score. Danbury beat New Milford 5-2. Girls tennis, Four and High lost to Sacred Heart Academy 4-3 at Hamden Middle School. Boys golf, the Massachusetts boys golf team defeated Newtown 168-179 at Whitney Farms on Wednesday. Matt Manjos was the medalist. He shot a 39. From volleyball, New Canaan shut down Fairfield 3-0. Ridgefield beat Danbury 3-0. St. Joe's over Harding 3-0. Staples did the same to Trumbull 3-0. From one other note that we have, Freya Coombe is the new girls soccer coach at Wilton High School, and Eric Gendron reporting, John, about possibly some new fields at New Canaan High School.
Interesting. Replacing existing or creation of new?
Well, according to Eric, the Ram Spirit Fund has begun taking private donations to replace the grass fields between Dunning Stadium and the Water Tower turf.
Okay.
And two new artificial turf playing fields. In addition, the group is also hoping to replace the turf at Dunning Stadium. The Ram Spirit Fund is now a new coalition of organizations which include the New Canaan Rams All Sports Booster Club, New Canaan Youth Football, New Canaan Lacrosse Association, the New Canaan Soccer Association, and New Canaan Youth Field Hockey. Formed in March, the Ram Spirit Fund is aiming to raise $2 million to fund the creation of one full-size playing field and an additional field that is 50 yards by 80 yards, according to New Canaan High School athletic director Jay Egan. He said he is optimistic that the Spirit Fund will reach its goal. You can read more of Eric's work at ncadvertiser.com. With sports, I'm Rob Adams. Coffee break time, 11:24. Don't forget about the Cooperstown Challenge, Sunday at 5.
And weather permitting, you're at Harbor Yard tomorrow night with the Battle of Fairfield.
Don't want to forget about that as well, of course. That is tomorrow, 6 o'clock. We'll be on right around 5:50, video and audio. Chris Kalin and I on the call as we've got Fairfield Ludlow and Fairfield Ward. So, yes, excited for that as well. We're getting a little, we're getting a little spoiled with these nice ballparks over this week.
That's true. But we'll adjust quickly.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
Kate, what else is making news in southwestern Connecticut this morning?
Well, John, a 15-year-old reported missing from East Granby, Connecticut last Friday was found in Hartford on Wednesday at the apartment of a registered sex offender, according to state police. State police said detectives tracked the teen to 33 Rowe Avenue in Hartford, where authorities found her with 23-year-old Jonathan Gonzalez, a registered sex offender. The teen was not hurt and went to the apartment of her own accord, according to police. State police issued a silver alert after the teen's parents reported her missing Friday night. The alert was canceled Wednesday after she was found safe. Police initially said the teen may have been traveling to Boston or Brooklyn for Fashion Week. Gonzalez was arrested for violating probation by having unsupervised contact with a minor. He was taken into police custody and held on a $1 million bond. Gonzalez is due in court Thursday. State police said they expect to file more charges in connection with the case. Coffee break time is 11:25.
Kate, an arrest has been made in a string of robberies at Wallingford stores. Police received a 911 call from a convenience store about 8 o'clock last night saying a man with a gun had just robbed the store. Minutes later, police had the suspect under arrest, and they say he's not just involved in this robbery, but an attempted robbery Sunday. Police say 25-year-old Dustin Chase committed those crimes. Wednesday night, the clerk at the pit stop on Woodhouse Avenue told police a man with his face covered walked into the store with a rifle and demanded money. The clerk gave the robber money. The robber fled, but the store has surveillance cameras. Police looked at the footage and recognized him as the same person who tried to rob Primo Pizza on Route 5 in Wallingford. Sunday night, they had already developed Chase as a suspect in that, so they went to his house. He's been charged with robbery, larceny, criminal possession, and criminal use of a firearm. His bond has been set at $300,000.
Thanks, John. Well, a study released by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that nearly 1/3 of women space out their children too close. According to the study, 30% of women became pregnant again within 18 months of having a child. Some experts say it's best to give the body at least 18 months to recover after having a baby. They say that will increase the chances that the next child is healthy and makes it to full term. According to the government study, most pregnancies are spaced out about 2 years, 5 months. Coffee break time is 11:27.
Kate, we're going to take a look at the roads and the weather and then step out. We have a lot of interesting stuff planned for our second half hour. On the roads right now, we are looking, like I've been saying, it's really be prepared. There's work all up and down 95 and the Merritt as they fill potholes. Also 691, also 84, and there are delays and then they clear, and there's road work and then they clear as they move up and down the highways, fixing potholes. Your weather, 59 and sunny outside our Shelton studio right now. That's about as warm as it's going to get. Tonight it'll cloud over, high of 46. Friday, rain, high of 65. We'll get to the weekend forecast when we come back. You're listening to Coffee Break on HANradio.com and streaming on the Hersam Acorn Network.
It's Lots of Characters, specializing in children's birthday parties with your child's favorite characters. When you want to party hardy, when you need to celebrate, call us, we won't be late. We help create lasting memories for you and your child on their special day. Call us at 203-590-1791 or visit our website at lotsofcharacters.org for more information and to see our party packages. Lots of Characters, 203-590-1791 or online at lotsofcharacters.org.
Located in the heart of picturesque downtown Ridgefield at 13 Governor Street, Colby's is the area's premier retailer for blinds, shades, shutters, and draperies, and is one of the select few Hunter Douglas Gallery dealers. A family-owned and operated company, Colby's experienced staff will work with you in choosing the best treatments for your home or office and offer free measuring and expert installation. Colby's also carries an extensive line of decorative fabrics including Schumacher, Durley, Tebow, and more. Or browse over 400 books in our wallpaper library from famous designers such as Stroheim, Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, Tebow, and York. Take advantage of our Fashion in Motion savings event with savings and rebates on Hunter Douglas shades with Power Rise technology. Colby's of Ridgefield. We are committed to your complete satisfaction. 203-438-8531.
Spring is finally in the air and our favorite season is upon us. The Dock Shop is all geared up with a great selection of fishing tackle, custom fishing rods, and all the latest accessories to replenish your tackle box. The Dock Shop has also just brought out the newest spring fashion apparel from Montauk Tackle, Altered Latitudes, Kaylee Smith, and Margaritaville Apparel. Need some new foul weather gear for those chilly spring mornings? The Dock Shop is loaded up with Grundens and Stormer in a variety of styles and sizes. Ladies, we've got you covered as well with spring apparel and the newest designs of coastal jewelry, bags, and accessories. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, Connecticut. Visit us at dockshop.com.
It's easy to advertise on HANradio.com, reach 263,000 listeners each month with our sports programming and talk programming. Call Marianne Hersam at 203-417-5199.
You're listening to Hersam Acorn Radio.
What you heard there was an enormous police motorcade with agencies from across the region who escorted Ridgefield Police Canine Zeus on his final ride yesterday. Zeus retired last year, and his increasingly poor health led to the decision to have him euthanized. Crowds on 2 and 4 legs saluted, clapped, and barked to Zeus as he rode along with the police station down Governor and up Main Street and up Danbury Road. He was brought to the Ridgefield Veterinary Hospital. Some of the departments in the motorcade included Norwalk, Danbury, New Milford, Darien, Monroe, as well as many cars from Ridgefield's own police force. The fire department showed up in formal uniform and saluted as Zeus rode by. Now, this is something, John, that we talked about on Behind the News last week, and it's just been getting a lot of attention. You know, I mean, everyone's who's a dog lover or an animal lover has had those situations having to put a beloved pet down, and Zeus had just done a lot of good in his lifetime, and, you know, it was very emotional for the members of that department.
Those police dogs, they kind of become the community's pet. It's not only, it's a protector, it's a friend, it's, I'm cautious of using the word playmate, but he does demos for the kids, and the community gets close to the dog, and it's heartbreaking when something like this happens.
Right. Now, also, we spoke with attorney Michael Koskoff a bit earlier and had a really interesting discussion about a medical malpractice lawsuit. It was really interesting stuff, John.
It was very interesting, and it points to a trend, greater use of these outpatient remote surgical sites, and they're just, if something goes bad, they're not equipped to deal with the consequences, and we have a case here involving a Stratford man that had the worst possible outcome.
Well, John, there's been a big medical malpractice lawsuit that's been making a lot of headlines this week. On the line, we have attorney Michael Koskoff of Koskoff, and Beater. Attorney Koskoff, thanks so much for joining us on today's coffee break.
I'm happy to be there.
You're representing the family of a Stratford man, Michael Palmer, who died during surgery in 2013. Can you tell us a little bit about Michael Palmer?
Sure. Michael Palmer was a longtime resident of Fairfield County. He was a Connecticut Transit Authority bus driver, and he had 8 children, pillar of the community, and he went into a surgical care center, a standalone surgical center, for what was supposed to be routine surgery, and he died during the surgery. And apparently what happened was the anesthesiologist just gave him the wrong drug at the wrong time, and instead of giving him a drug to treat a condition, they ended up giving him a agent that was toxic, and he died. So that's the brief overview of what happened, but I think the devil, as usual, is really in the details here.
And you mentioned about this lawsuit that he didn't want to get this surgery done in an outpatient center. He wanted to get it done in a hospital. Is that right?
Well, that's what he told people before he went in. He said that he had requested and had preferred that it be done at St. Vincent's Hospital, where it had surgery in the past, and it had all gone very smoothly. But he was informed by his doctors that that would not be the case here, that they were going to assign him to the outpatient surgical center. Had he been in the hospital where he wanted to be, this would never have happened.
Attorney Koskoff, John Kovach here. I think what jumped out at me in reading this story when it broke the other day was that you could actually perform this surgery outside of a hospital setting. I was absolutely stunned that there are really essentially outpatient clinics that can do something as complex as he had a cervical spinal fusion, correct?
You're absolutely right, and this is, I think, one of the most disturbing things about what happened here, is that this was a procedure called an ACDF, which is an anterior cervical disc fusion, and it's a very complicated procedure. The surgeon has to go in through the neck and to retract and move aside all of the vessels in the neck before they reach the spine, and then it's a very, very delicate procedure. And the consultants that we spoke to said that it's not one that you should be doing in a one-day surgical center, that this is something that requires an overnight stay because you have to observe the patient for neck swelling after surgery like this. So this was very disturbing, and it's very, very, very disturbing to the family. So I think it sort of depicts, you know, this is not an indictment of surgical centers, all surgical centers, or even the concept of surgical centers. These can be convenient, they can be safe, they can be efficient, but there's a tendency here to overuse them, perhaps. And that may or may not be caused by the fact that the doctors who perform the surgery there are actually part owners of the center. So they make a profit both on the surgery and also on their performance in the surgery, and also on the profits of the center. So there's every inducement for them, perhaps subconsciously, to want to do things in the center.
Your suit is seeking a litigation remedy to a specific family's loss. Is this something that also requires a legislative remedy in more strict definition and policing of what can and cannot be done in these surgical suites?
Well, I think that the legislature should look at it. In this particular instance, one of the further aggravating factors here is that this procedure was not on the list of procedures that the governing body of the surgical center said it was going to do. In other words, even the surgical center didn't say that the surgical center could be used for this procedure, but it went ahead anyway. And I think this is, again, I think that the real issue that the legislature has to look at is the policing of the centers. In a hospital, there are all kinds of supervisors. There's hospital administrators. There's department heads. And people are always looking over the shoulders of the doctors. And of course, doctors don't like that. Nobody likes having people look over their shoulders. But in the surgical center, there's really no one looking at what's going on. So here they could perform the surgery that wasn't approved by the governing body, and no one stopped them. Now, that could never have happened in a hospital.
Now, Attorney Koskoff, I know you kind of drew some parallels to the Joan Rivers case. I mean, are there national implications here?
Well, yes. The Joan Rivers, this is very similar in a lot of ways, because in the Joan Rivers case, Joan Rivers also went into a surgical center for what was supposed to be a one-day procedure, and she also died. And the issues there are similar in a couple of respects. In one respect, the information that has come out has revealed that at least one of the doctors involved in the surgery was not authorized. Here we have a procedure that was not authorized in our case. In another respect, there was an anesthesia mishap, and in the Rivers case, there was not the proper anesthesia equipment wasn't available. There was no crash cart. In our case, again, an anesthesia mishap, and in our case, it's that the anesthesia department was not set up properly. I mean, the medications were not organized in a way that they could, to avoid confusion, and it's that confusion that resulted in the death of Mr. Palmer. so there is a parallel there, and the thing that is really disturbing about this is that we find that these mishaps in surgical centers are beginning to occur more and more frequently. And Mr. Palmer's case is one. We're actually looking at 2 more cases of deaths in surgical centers right now, within the last 2 years.
Just a
quick. I'm concerned that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I don't know whether anyone's really keeping track of deaths in surgical centers. I do know that I sent a little email out yesterday to some colleagues of mine to see if anyone else had them, and I received one from a colleague in Ohio. He said he had the death of a 10-year-old undergoing a tonsillectomy in an outpatient procedure. Another one from Florida for procedures involving plastic surgery. Another one with a child undergoing tooth surgery. Another surgery on a man's nose. Another death. 2 of them from Massachusetts, a death and a brain damage one. So these are happening. So these are great centers. Centers are great, but they're not risk-free.
Wow. What's next in this lawsuit? I mean, what's the next step going forward?
The next step will be to obtain discovery, and we know a lot about what happened here, but there's also still a lot we don't know. And so we have to get the out-of-court testimony, depositions of the various witnesses so that we can really find out some of the details, how they got permission to go into the center when this was not supposed to have been done, the exact location of the medications that were used, who set up the anesthesia department. One of the things that happens in these cases is that these surgical centers are out there and they say we're safe and we have excellent staff and everything, but then when you go to sue them, they say we're not responsible. It's the doctors who are responsible. We have no responsibility here, and they actually say that. I'm not exaggerating. They come out and they say, "Oh, this is an anesthesia mishap. It's all the fault of the anesthesiologist." And that's not good enough, because when people go into places, they depend on the institution. We're not critical of the doctors. These are all good doctors. The surgeons are well-respected, excellent surgeons. But it's the institution, the organization of the institution that results in these tragedies.
Well, Attorney Michael Koskoff, thank you. I know this is a case that a lot of people are going to be following very closely, so we really appreciate you coming on and just telling us more about it.
Anytime you need any update, just give me a call.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You're listening to Coffee Break on HANradio.com. We'll be back after this.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands at the award season event, now through April 30th.
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. and online at StraffordSmile.com.
Did you know that taking dance lessons is a great date night idea? Arthur Murray Grand Ballroom of Greenwich is a fabulous place to learn to dance and meet new people. Located at 6 Lewis Street, our studio is staffed with professional instructors ready to teach you salsa, waltz, rumba, hustle, tango. There's a dance for every season, and we are rated #1 on the Knot.com. We are the wedding dance specialists. Take advantage of our new student offer, only $49. Call 203-769-1800. Visit us online at arthurmurraygreenwich.com.
This year, 3,000 Connecticut women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. Hersam Acorn is a proud sponsor of the Komen Connecticut Race for the Cure. Help make an impact in the local fight against breast cancer by joining us on May 9th in Westport at Sherwood Island. With your help, Komen Connecticut invests in local breast cancer programs, helping local women beat breast cancer. Visit KomenCT.org to register, volunteer, or donate today. We race for Connecticut. Why will you race?
Hersam Acorn and HANradio.com.
It's 11:47 on your coffee break presented by Stratford Orthodontics. I'm Kate Chaplinsky in the Shelton studio with John Kovach. John, it's Thursday, and you know what that means? We got a lot of front pages.
Means a lot of front pages. Also means Stir Crazy, Kate.
Yes, that's right. Right after us.
Stir Crazy, big guest for Patty Gay. Richard Weiss, who is the star of the ABC TV show Born to Explore. He's going to be a guest on this. Born to Explore nominated for 5 daytime Emmys, including 1 for Outstanding Series, another for Best Series Host. He's an explorer. He'll talk about culture and food around the world. That should be just a great show. Stay tuned at noon on HAN Radio. No video on that, on HAN Radio for Stir Crazy with Patty Gay. The front pages, there's just a lot going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm looking at the front page of the Darien Times right now. Former Veterans Charity bookkeeper indicted on fraud and tax evasion charges. The bookkeeper of a Darien Veterans Charity has been indicted for embezzling about $800,000 during the last 5 years. The United States Attorney for the District of Connecticut announced recently that a federal grand jury in New Haven returned a 10-count indictment charging 53-year-old Cynthia Tanner of Darien with fraud and tax evasion offenses stemming from the alleged embezzlement. So, update on a big story there.
A lot going on in Stratford, where just a great paint job on this Adirondack chair.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those
Beautiful.
share a chair outdoor exhibits where artists are given, they've done it with statues. Here they're doing it with chairs. They paint their vision for it.
Remember the cows in Stamford?
The cows in Stamford.
There were horses. I think it might have been in Stamford as well, because I did a story on a Shelton artist who painted one of those horses. So it was very cool. It's pretty neat to give them all the same thing to work with and watch what different artists do with it.
It really helps you be bowled over by the creative process, that they could all see the same blank canvas and see different things.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm allowed to sit in those Adirondack chairs in Stratford. Do you think?
I don't.
Were those chairs made for sitting? I mean, if they're chairs and they're putting them around without anything around them, I'm guessing they're okay.
Similar to the cow parade.
We'll have to ask Melvin Mason about that one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find
We'll
out
have to
from Melvin
confirm.
on that. But also, you've got the sale of the water treatment plant and the regionalization of that, which is becoming a fight. And I know there's people opposed to that who are trying to keep the fight going there. And the good news that Main Street down at the south end, down by Sikorsky Airport, where they're rerouting it for the runway safety area installation, that could be open before Memorial Day. That's big if you use Short Beach, because it eliminates a detour that you've had to deal with. So that would be a nice thing to happen for people who use Short Beach in Stratford.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at also the front page of the Ridgefield Press. Oh, John, something you'll love. Casting call. It's just a standalone photo because fishing season opened last weekend, and they got a nice shot of Paul Sobin, casting at the Norwalk River. So there you go. But there's also a really neat story about a kidney donation on the front page of the Press. Kidney donation gives a mom the gift of time, and her good friend had an operation to remove one of his kidneys for transplantation to her, which is just amazing. I mean, if you're willing to do something like that, her body's actually on its 4th kidney right now. But I mean, how amazing for a friend of yours to step up and do something like that. So I definitely suggest people check that story out at theridgefieldpress.com. I'm sure it'll be up if they don't get the paper.
One of the lead stories in the Lewisboro Ledger across the line in Westchester is that there's not going to really be any story. The Republicans and Democrats, Kate, they both endorsed the incumbents. So looks like if it ain't broke, don't fix it is Steve Coulter's lead. Steve, the new editor there. Congratulations to him on that. Steve, one of the hosts of Radio Arts and Leisure. They've just announced a cross-endorsed slate of 6 incumbents.
Wow.
I wonder if by law they'll have to open the polls anyway.
Well, looking at the front page of the Reading Pilot, Reading's Land Trust celebrates 50 years. 50 years ago, Reading conservation pioneers had a great idea: incorporate a land-saving organization into a town blessed with one of the most beautiful natural areas in Connecticut. So there's a nice feature story on that. And then Caitlin Bradshaw, the editor of the Reading Pilot, wrote a story about the Powassan virus, which we've talked a little bit about, the new tick-borne illness. There haven't been any human cases in Connecticut yet, but it has been found here, and it's just kind of another scary tick-borne illness that, we need to be careful of.
And it's always right about the time people start going outside, obviously. Here it comes,
Right.
And they say it's worse than Lyme, and I know it concerns me.
Right. What else is going on, John?
Well, in New Canaan, the members of the school board, 6 of them, are unhappy with a $100,000 cut made to the school's proposed budget by the town council. They are calling it arbitrary, so that could be an interesting discussion there in New Canaan. And we've got some looks at what draws people to New Canaan, house sales, and New Canaan's being a commuter community, its history of being a rail-based community there. So that's on the front page of the advertising, including, by the way, if you're into sports photos, Dave Stewart got this incredible sports photo at the baseball game that we did on HANradio.com on Monday. It's a run scoring, and it's just a tremendous shot. Give it a look. It's on the front page. The detail he got, to the point that you can see the catcher's eyes focused on making the tag on the runner. I mean, really a lot of good detail in it.
Yeah. Well, in the Milford Mirror, a lot of affordable housing proposals are on the table. And so there's a big story on that. A lot of plans to knock down some nice houses and make way for affordable housing plans. It's Milford's, a popular place to live. I get there's a demand, so we'll see what happens with a lot of that.
You can see how that has migrated east, that initially the affordable housing applications were in the Ridgefields and the Greenwiches, and then made their way into the Dariens, the New Canaans, continuing into not so much in Norwalk, but then you get there's some in Fairfield, and now Milford, New Haven County. The taxes are lower there. And it's just going to keep making its way east.
Right.
And until they change that affordable housing law, that's what's going to happen.
Right. And we also see on the Milford Mirror front page just more on the Melba Street fire, 2 houses really destroyed and another one damaged by fire there that spread because of the wind. Started in one house and spread. They're just not sure they're going to be able to find the cause of the fire. So we'll see what happens. Also, just a budget story that Jill wrote about very few people coming out to a budget hearing and having little to say. I mean, that happened in my town this year. There wasn't too much budget drama after some initial meetings. So, if people are happy generally with it, you don't get a big turnout.
I'm actually looking at your paper at the moment, and I see that the $160.5 million budget has passed. Also, as we talked about, Trumbull has hired the longtime recreation director from Westport,
yes,
Stuart McCarthy, to fill what's essentially a new role in Trumbull.
Right. That caused a little bit of budget drama. some people weren't crazy about that position. Other people, strongly support it, including the first selectman. So we'll see what happens and if, real changes happen in that department like are being promised. So it'll be interesting to see.
And the farmers market's coming back.
Yes, this is a big story for Trumbull. People were so upset last year when the farmers market didn't reopen, and now it's moving to Nichols, to the Nichols Gazebo Lawn, which is actually privately owned and maintained by the Nichols Improvement Association. It's not owned by the town, but I know the NIA is really excited to have it there because it's kind of celebrating the agricultural history of that section of town known as, the Nichols section. Also, just looking at our arts and leisure section this week, there's just a really fabulous photo of Judy Collins.
Oh, that's a great shot.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool photo. She's going to be performing at the Ridgefield Playhouse, I believe. So
that would be a great show to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's just a legend. Speaking of on stage, just some. Susan Hunter got some photos for the Shelton Herald of a school spelling bee. I had the privilege of being a judge at one last year, and the focus and the concentration on the faces of these kids as they try to spell just really captures it. Also, a story about questions about the odor of gas and a gas connection. P&Z is not interested in having a Goodwill store on Lower Bridgeport Avenue. And you're seeing this more and more in towns, particularly your more built-up towns, the creation of pedestrian areas. And in Shelton, it's a dilemma, this new City Hall area with Howe Avenue, Center Street, Quorum Avenue, and White Street as the borders. There's talk of, do we do a pedestrian walkway there, a mall, or do we do parking?
Yeah. I also am just glancing at the Wilton Bulletin front page. I see they did a story there on the top wage earners in town. It looks like the police are still the town's top earners. And I also see some carnival photos, really nice carnival photos on the front page of the Wilton Bulletin. It's actually a lot of carnivals going on right now. Shelton has one right now with the Boys and Girls Club. Trumbull has one with the Rotary Club.
Fairfield, they're coming up.
It's vacation week, but I always think, geez, it's kind of, you never know. It could be a cold, nasty week for having a carnival. You could really
April, you're rolling the dice.
You really are, but...
I see the headline on the Weston Forum is Stir Crazy.
Which is perfect, because what's coming up next?
We have Stir Crazy coming up in just a minute.
And?
On hanradio.com. That'll be followed by Yankee Fisherman, where we were up at the Catskill Fly Fishing Center and Museum for their opening. We were at a fishing derby in Bridgeport, and we've got some events coming up that we'll talk about. So, busy afternoon here on hanradio.com and streaming on the Hersam Acorn Network.
Yeah, it's going to be great. All right, everyone, we'll have a nice Thursday coffee break. We'll be back tomorrow at 11.
Hersam Acorn and hanradio.com. The leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.